up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean78904. If you want to get all tactical, start at 2 hours. Nope, it's not going to be 2 hours. An hour and 40 minutes of nonstop MLB DFS conversation because first pitch tonight is 6:45, and it's just a 5-gamer. Myself, one of the greatest DFS players of all time. It's John Breslin. You know him better as Squirrel Patrol. We're here for the next 55 minutes or so, give or take, till we hand it off to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth, once again, no weather. I can go ahead and drop the weather report in chat, and you guys can learn a lot of fun facts. Nothing necessarily weather-related. Actually, there are some fun weather-related facts in there. Did you know, Squirrel, did you know the famous San Francisco fog has a name? It's called Carl. Carl is the name of the fog in San Fran, and you can follow Carl the Fog on Twitter, who happens to have over 300,000 fog fanatic followers. I bet you didn't think we were opening with that today.
All right.
What's up, Squirrel?
Hey, how's it going? Pretty unremarkable slate here, but it could be Nationals and Marlins chalk night, and that's why we're here to provide our expertise on these two beautiful teams. So got some baseball and then followed by some Thursday night football.
Yeah, you're going to be on later tonight talking. Speaking of another Miami team, right? The Dolphins taking on Buffalo. Not great for the schedule makers. I think a fun Thursday night game, but for the Dolphins, they want as many home field advantage games they can get in the early part of the season at home in the sweltering heat. They want to take on Buffalo at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, but that is not the case. I don't know what the weather is, but certainly not the same. We know about Miami's unfair home advantage of like throwing the other team in the sun. That will not be the case this evening. Yourself and Chop will be back around 7:45 East Coast. Is that about right, give or take?
Yeah, I think 7:40, 7:45.
Close enough. Yeah, taking you guys up the lock. Both of us will have our eye on that game as well. Of course, keep our eye on the baseball scoreboard. Kind of a doubleheader the way it's split up, just a 5-gamer. Small slate. 3 early games: Miami, Washington, my old team versus your current team. Tampa, Cleveland, Boston versus New York, big time rivalry, and then the 2 later games: Texas, Seattle, Milwaukee, and San Fran. It's also, just to tell the people, it's also a Fleet Thursday. Get excited for Fleet Thursday. If you're early, we'll go ahead and drop the first clue. You're not going to like the first clue. I'm just telling you guys, you're not going to like it. It's not going to help you. But we had to do it. I could not resist making the first clue today for Fleet Thursday. And what is Fleet Thursday? If you don't know what it is, well, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium if you tell me what athlete I'm talking about. You answer this in the Discord. RotoGrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. And if you tell me what athlete we're getting at here with the 5 clues, 1 guess per clue. The first clue, it's not retired. You guys are always telling me, the first clue is always retired. Well, I'll tell you what, now this person's not retired. Have at it. That makes it a lot easier. To be fair, there's a lot more retired players than non-retired players. So the pool of potential options, like 90% is out. You can scratch them off your list. So now it should be easy. Getting there. We have Rocker making his MLB debut. Former, I think he was a first-round pick or close to a first-round pick or uber prospect. I follow no college baseball, essentially. And when I'm aware of you, that means you're doing something good. Out of Vanderbilt, I believe. And his numbers in the minors have been bonkers, just absolutely electric. Probably going to get pushed out as far as his pitch counts. 70 to 75 is what we're looking at. I was looking at his game log stuff, too, and just compiling a ridiculous amount of strikeouts. It's just been amazing. But 5 innings essentially is what they're capping him at. In Texas, of course, not really going anywhere. It's weird. I saw somebody tweet out like Rocker's pitching for Texas this week, Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom, and it's all like worthless. None of it. Like, it feels like it should mean something, but it doesn't. It's weird. I don't know. The deGrom thing. What is the ups? I mean, I guess it's cool. Like, let him pitch. He's worked his way back, but there really is no upside to him pitching. I don't think.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about all these guys. But yeah, like actually, like Max Scherzer, being a Nationals fan, like Max Scherzer is the one I kind of think of. I think it's good to have all those guys back. And Rocker is interesting. Actually, I kind of said it's like a nondescript slate, but Kumar Rocker is actually an interesting story. I forget the exact story, but I do remember him at Vanderbilt. I feel like there was like both draft issues and contract issues, and then injury issues, and so he's like actually pitched very little the last few years, but he was like at one time the uber prospect. And so it is an interesting story, going to be an interesting debut. He may end up being over-owned in DFS because he probably is not going to have like a full leash, but we'll see. It should be interesting.
we can bring in producer Steve, who might have Rocker's story, because maybe he does. I feel like he does, because he was originally drafted by the Mets, and the Mets did not sign him because they found a medical issue, and so he went back in the pool, I think is how that works. And then Texas went ahead and drafted him, I guess, the next year or something like that. I'm not as all too familiar, but I think that's probably what you're thinking of. The Mets drafted him in the first round and just did not sign him because they had some producer Steve says he has no Rocker story. Yeah, so I guess I don't know if Steve's just like bitter about the situation. I'm not really sure, but obviously it didn't work out for him in the Mets. So there you go. But the numbers in the minor leagues, I'm curious, because optimizers are not saying you should play him, and mostly because, you know, the 75 pitches, kind of the pitch count. But the counter to that is there's not like a slew of like spectacular arms you have to beat today. And I think there's a chance that he is the top guy. No chance, essentially. I don't want to say no chance, but essentially no chance of getting the quality start on FanDuel. That doesn't mean he can't go 5 and strike out 10. Like, it doesn't mean he can't do that in 75 pitches. And the other guys, the alternative, Bryce Miller, right? Nasty Nestor, Cortez taking on Boston, and that's kind of a boom bust spot. You know, Boston has power, but also I think they strike out the second most in baseball against lefties. So I think you're probably supposed to lean into both sides of that for tournaments. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, playing both some Cortez and some Red Sox. Frankie Matas down there in San Fran. The Fog certainly has got his what's the name of the Fog again? Like Frankie the Fog? It starts with Fran. What was it? Carl. Oh, I thought why wouldn't they make it with an F? It's Carl, the K. Yes, Carl the Fog has certainly got his eye on the game there in San Fran. But yeah, before we fully dive in as far as pitchers, what is your general screenshot as far as the slate as an overview? You did mention Washington. Your Nats are going to be popular. They're expensive. We're getting like hurricane prices these days for some of these dudes, at least. And I guess it's kind of justified, especially on DK. Like CJ Abrams has a really good price on FanDuel. He's pricey on DK, but also like you're still going to play him. You're going to pay him. I think you are. You tell me how you're seeing the slate.
Yeah, so it's just 5 games, 10 teams. My Nationals do, I think, second highest implied run total on the slate after the Yankees. And yes, so I don't know, not a lot of like, I love always, playing the road teams because you get the guaranteed 9th inning at bats. I think every single road team has an implied run total under 4 runs. So not a lot to pick from there. And that does kind of leave the Nationals. And so that's probably going to be my overall strategy. Like, I know I'm usually here doing the mass multi-entry with the context of the slate being like Thursday Night Football coming on right after this. That I'm probably just going to throw some national stacks in there. The Marlins do look pretty good on the other side of that, facing Mitchell Parker. They've got some hitters that can hit left-handed pitching pretty well. So that kind of makes a little mini stack right there. But there are some other teams in play. You've got a game in Seattle. It's one of the best pitching parks in the majors. So you've got Bryce Miller going there against Frankie Montas. That's some good pitching options. I tend to prefer Gavin Williams just because he's facing a completely anemic Tampa Bay offense. And then, you've got the nice rivalry game with Boston and the Yankees as well.
Just checking in the chat. Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Derek is asking for clue number 2. You're asking kindly. So let's go ahead and nobody guessed it. Nobody guessed our athlete based upon clue number 1, not retired. Clue number 2 is chlorine. Chlorine is clue number 2. Yes, no relation to John Rocker. I knew somebody was going to go there. Yes, no relation to John Rocker. As far as I know, I would imagine there's basically no. Unlucky, I would imagine so. All right. You mentioned the Marlins, and I guess we'll kind of talk about this, but like Norby looks great. He's been very good for them so far since coming over. Berger. But the rest, when Christian Pache is your number 5 hitter, and that dude is like all glove, no bat. And I understand they're all professionally trained to hit baseballs, and they're cheap. So I get it. But I'm just having a hard time making a full Marlin stack. But I also, make just a few lineups essentially. I don't get the 150. Was running 150, I'm sure I would have Marlon stacks and just hold my nose. But that lineup is not great for the Marlins. But Parker's not very good either, and it's a good ballpark, and they're locked in for 9. And I guess maybe you don't have to be great tonight is the other point. Like what if the top scoring team is like 6 runs, which is very plausible tonight. And it's just, you just kind of walk into the couple homers and there you go. That's kind of my argument for Milwaukee. I guess we'll get to them at some point. But, I think a guy like Contreras or Adames, if they bang out a couple homers, that's that. Like you need them on your team, and there you go. And you mentioned the ballpark there in San Fran, of course, it stinks. But and they're also facing a fly ball pitcher who gives a bunch of walks. So they're kind of you were on the expert survey today. I don't know who you picked. I don't recall. But like Milwaukee's my sneaky team. Like I don't like, that's the question. Like I don't know who's sneaky. It's hard to be sneaky in a 10 gamer. But do you remember who you settled on as far as your sneaky team? Or I got to get pulled up. It's probably the Marlins. It might have been the Marlins.
Yeah, we got the Marlins.
I know you're writing content for football. Your brain's in 2 parts right now. You did the Hitting the Nuts. Is it Hitting the Nuts article for football? There you go. I always get that. For some reason, I can never quite land. I never say it with confidence for whatever reason.
Done a couple different brandings, and with the nuts in there, if you get it wrong, you can get it dramatically wrong. So and it's still a takedown for UFC.
Takedown for UFC. All right. Yeah. Oh, busy time of the year for you. Busy time of the year. Lot of crossover with the sports. Is this the Sphere this weekend?
It is. Yeah, it's the Sphere. It's a weird card. It's actually a really weird UFC slate. Because you would think that being in the Sphere, they'd like load it up with a ton of fights, and they did not. I think there's still 10 fights, and 2 of them are 5-rounders, and the 5-round fights are like particularly good DraftKings scorer fighters, and it's probably going to go the distance. So potentially that's 4 of your roster spots right there out of your 6. And so that's going to make it a weird UFC. For tournaments, I think it's still kind of as interesting as ever because, we don't know what's going to happen. For cash games, you're like, I've got and there's one massive favorite. So I don't want to give away any rosters, but if you stack the 2 5-round fights, put the and put the massive favorite in there, you are left with a pretty good fighter, as the highest priced fighter left for cash games. Like a female fighter tends to go to the distance and score pretty well. It's like, this is going to be a weird cash night.
Even I can figure out the Fleet Thursday on that with just one quick Google search. I'm sure I can figure out who you're talking about. I think they didn't load up the slate it wasn't the greatest fighters because the Sphere just kind of sells itself. Is that what it is? Just people just want to go to the Sphere, probably. I think
it's a good question. I don't know. I haven't turned my attention to lots of UFC this week. I don't really know if there's an explanation for why there's not more fights on the card. But
cheapest tickets are currently $657 on Vivid Seats, and apparently that's they've been down. So I think people just want to see the Sphere. I feel like it kind of sells itself.
And I actually do think that might be the explanation. Is really that they're trying to throw in a bunch. They have a limited amount of time to work with, to capture people's attention, and they want to have a bunch of special effects and special guests and stuff like that. And that's limiting the amount of fights they can have on the card, which for our purposes, I don't care where they have the fights. If I'm not there, I want to see the DraftKings scores. It's not the best card for DraftKings purposes.
Okay. My apologies for derailing the show, but hey, it's a 5-gamer. I promise we're going to get back on track here. Richie saying Dana White says there's going to be some Easter eggs in the videos between fights. So whoever finds all 10 wins $25K. Okay. Interesting. So there you go. They got something to do in between the fights. You can be figuring out the Easter eggs. You and everybody else, I suppose. All right. Is it competing against a big boxing match? Canelo's fighting? Didn't know that. What is your approach as far as pitchers tonight? Because one of the things I wrote in the survey is just I don't really, they ask you who your favorite pitcher is. I don't really have a favorite. I just have these are the guys that are in the bucket. I'm going to get different shares. I know it's not a hot take, and I know it's not necessarily helpful as advice, but that's just sort of the way I see it. I don't see a big difference between Montas and Williams and Cortez, Bryce Miller. And I think Rocker is the really, really interesting flyer that if everybody else is kind of I don't want to say falters, but just doesn't really do anything spectacular. I think he's got a chance at least. You can tell yourself a story. that, he strikes out 9 in 5 innings and he's somehow the top pitcher on the slate. But what's your approach? Is it just kind of like, get different pieces of each? Are you taking a stand on 1 or 2 players? You exit anybody out? What's the approach here?
So I'm thinking of tonight more in terms of like single entry mindset or having a handful of lineups, and I am probably going to get boring and like prioritize Gavin Williams more so than Kumar Rocker. I do, because I think Kumar Rocker is the kind of interesting choice. He's got the story, but I think he's going to be limited, and I think he's going to be overowned. So I literally had him in the expert survey on the sheet as my favorite pitcher. Then I'm like, you know what? Everybody's gonna he's gonna see more ownership than his upside, I think. And I think Gavin Williams is in a really good spot facing like Tampa Bay team that just can't hit like at this point in the season. And Gavin Williams, I think, was he like the 8th most expensive. Like he's cheaper than everybody else. Like Rocker's actually priced off, and Gavin Williams is too cheap. So what does that blurb say? Yeah, 6th most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, 8th most expensive on FanDuel. So I'm, taking the savings and going with Gavin Williams tonight. And I think that's the guy if I'm going to be overweight somebody, because I think we're showing ownership being spread out. I think it will end up being pretty spread out. So yeah, I'm going to, I think, go with Gavin Williams. I think there is an argument for Bryce Miller, but he's the most expensive. All of these Seattle pitchers have been so good at home versus on the road. And he is at home. So there is an argument for him there. Texas has, I think, the lowest implied run total on the slate. I think you could do worse than just kind of eating some chalk and some salary and going with Bryce Miller, but I wouldn't be afraid to drop down in price and go to Frankie Montas either. I think Birdsong's an interesting choice. There's some strikeout potential there. I believe it's in San Francisco. It's a good, pitching ballpark. I think if you wanted to take somebody that's going to, be cheap and lower owned, I think Birdsong is probably the guy.
So biggest K rate on the slate, Birdsong 27.5%. Biggest walk rate on the slate, 15%. So, higher variance than expected. Also a fly ball guy too. A fly ball guy that's been giving up a fair bit of homers, 1.73 homers per 9, almost 18% homer to fly ball, just because his fly ball rate has been pretty high. But yeah, it feels like, lean in the variance. And that's why I like Milwaukee. I just like, I think Milwaukee lean into the variance, walk, homer, that kind of thing. He can get in trouble. Tough ballpark, but some of these guys get a hold of it. Some of these guys like Contreras and Adames, doesn't really matter what ballpark you're in. I just don't think Rocker is going to get owned. Optimizer people, not to point fingers. I know you're talking about single entry stuff. But I think optimizer people are just not really going to play Rocker. Optimizers don't like him just because, again, he's priced probably a little bit more than he should be when you consider the expectation of pitches between 70 and 75 or so. Sounds about right. Maybe 5 innings, whichever comes first. So I'm actually on, let's see, we have 12%. Miller, most popular currently on DraftKings at 42, Montas at 31. The other side of that Birdsong game. San Fran certainly worth picking on, especially in that ballpark. Gavin Williams, you mentioned at 28%, which I think is kind of like, I like your argument too against Tampa. Tampa offers a bunch of strikeouts. Williams is a perfectly fine strikeout pitcher. Not elite, but fine for this slate. Feel like he should be like right there with Montas and Miller, especially when he's cheaper. And then there's Nestor, who another guy, a high variance guy, fly balls, home runs, but also, Boston strikes out. And the slate's going to come down to like which home runs go over the fence. Well, I guess home runs do, all the home runs go over the fence. Which balls go over the fence and which balls just like die on the warning track. And that might be what the slate comes down to for pitchers. I don't know, it's an oversimplification, but that's kind of the way I see it. And I don't know. I can't tell you. I know I pretend to have the almanac, but I don't. And the almanac, I think, actually cut Gray Sports Almanac. Gray Sports Almanac?
This whole time? Yeah, I know the almanac.
Yeah,
I thought you had it. You've got a whole. Yeah, you used to have a whole background.
This is breaking. I just outed myself. I'm a fraud. I do have a Magic 8 Ball though. I don't know if you can ask that. And I have Mr. Predicto who speaks if I'm called upon. So just in case. But the almanac I think stops at the year 2000. I want to say. So I missed the boat on that. It cuts it off, and yeah, unfortunately, we can no longer take advantage of that. It was a good run for the almanac though, but that's that is where we're at. Any names being thrown out in chat that they want us to entertain? Let's see. Birdsong strikeout total tonight. Is that a question? It's question mark. Let's see. Oh, inside the park home runs don't go over the fence. Yes, thank you, J3. I feel like San Fran is one ballpark. I think it's a good triple ballpark. Not that you really think about like I need a guy to get triples, but I think San Fran's a good like inside the park home run park because just the weird stuff they have in the outfield, that just kind of the way the dimensions and that massive wall, and you can get a huge bounce. But again, you're not counting on that. Those are things that you'll get. What do you got?
Yeah, I think Arizona used to be a really good triples ballpark. I used to try to make my own projections. It was like a version of the bat. This is like 10 years ago. And, I played like DFS with like 2015, 2016, my own projections. And I could never, like whenever there was a speedster hitting in Arizona, I would like get like 80% of them because like my projections were terrible. And like Arizona like boosted over a 5-year period, like boosted triples like 80%. So I'd have these guys projected for like 3 triples if they were a triples hitter.
Interesting.
And I couldn't get them out of my lineups.
I just Googled parks that have the most inside the park home runs, and I'm getting Forbes Field and Griffith Field and Polo Grounds. I don't think this is helpful for 2024. Okay. That's I guess I should have been more specific with my Google, but maybe
picture of Forbes Field in my office. It's I went to college.
Do you really?
Yeah, because I went to college like it's like in between Carnegie Mellon and Pitts, and I went to classes at both campuses. So they don't have the field there anymore. There's like a little plate on the ground somewhere. Where I used to be. But yeah, so.
Cool. Well, too bad we couldn't take advantage of this many years ago, but it is what it is. We're playing. We care about DFS today and today only. Sven is telling us about, Oracle Park has Triples Alley is what it's called. I guess that's what I was referencing. If you go like on Fangraphs, you can see like what ballpark elevates triples for lefties, triples for righties, and stuff like that. And I think San Fran and maybe Colorado, because of how massive the outfield is, I can see them also, a fair bit of triples too. Okay. Anything else that needs to be said as far as pitchers? I don't know if you're running 150. It sounds like you're probably concentrating on single entry stuff, but if you hypothetically were running 150, who would still not make the cut? Like, would Parker make the cut? Would Pepio, McLaughlin? I don't know. I want to put an L there. It's how do you pronounce the guy's name for the Marlins? Darren McSee? McCocken?
He's not on the. He's not on my list. Let's see. If I was running 150, I got 8 guys. So no Criswell and no McCoffin. Yeah.
I want to put an L in there for so bad. I don't know why. I just try to force it, but it's not there.
But mostly Gavin Williams, Bryce Miller, Birdsong, Montas. A little bit less of Cortez, less still of Parker, even less Pepio, and just sprinkling of Rocker.
All right. Anything else going on in chat as far as the conversation for pitchers specifically? I think it is pretty straightforward. I've not checked in the live stream chat, but I don't think we have a winner just yet for today's Fleet Thursday. So we can go ahead and drop the third clue. It's a little tough out the gate. It's a little tough, but somebody's going to get there eventually. So not retired, chlorine. Those are the first 2 clues. Clue number 3 is creepy. Creepy is clue number 3. And I don't believe we have CD Lamb was guessed. Tyreek Hill was guessed. It's not Josh Allen, but there are names being thrown out there. It's not Mike Trout or Michael Phelps from T. Carter. Good guess for Michael Phelps with chlorine. I see what you're doing there. Yeah, that's a good route to take, but it's not Michael Phelps. Okay. And it is not Freddie Peralta, according to Ravens fan. Okay. You want to give a summary as far as pitchers? Kind of straightforward, but it is what it is. We just kind of did. I know, but we should just wrap it up, put a bow on it, and pivot to stacks tonight. Probably the more interesting conversation.
Yeah, so I think Bryce Miller is probably the chalk, and he's the highest projected, and he's in a good spot. And if you have, if you have the salary, then don't let me talk you off of Bryce Miller. I think Gavin Williams is like the most affordable option. He's probably the guy that I want to have the most of. I think Montas is actually he's getting a ballpark upgrade pitching in Seattle. And I'm kind of staying away from this Yankees Red Sox game. I feel like these games, and maybe it's anecdotal, they tend to be a little bit closer, but never like outstanding pitching performances either. So I don't have a lot of Cortez, but if I was doing 150, I would. I like Birdsong for the price. I think Rocker's too expensive for the fact that he might have a short leash. We can see there the 75 innings pitched, but it's a fun story. And if you want to go there, really anything kind of goes. I had 8 out of the 10 guys represented. I think if I was doing 50 lineups or 150. But by far I would concentrate on like Gavin Williams, probably Bryce Miller, and then Montas and Birdsong.
So I need you to make a call here in our private chat. I need you to answer this question. I need you to, because it's a tricky question. I don't want to say it on air for reasons we'll divulge in a second, but can you accept this responsibility? Do you want to make this official call? Producer Steve is saying he thinks so. I think so too. I don't know. You tell me, Squirrel. Does this qualify as a correct guess?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I believe, according to our judges, we have Squirrel, we have Producer Steve, Chuck Norris was here just in case we needed a third judge giving a thumbs up for us. I believe we do. I believe we do have a. I believe we do have a winner for our Fleet Thursday, and it's not Deshaun Watson. I saw several people guessed him. I understand why, and it's also not Karl Malone. But yes, we do have a winner in chat. Congratulations to Coach Wilcox. We'll play it out. We'll give the remaining clues momentarily, but we did have a correct guess for today's Fleet Thursday. All right, we're going to do our stacks in just a second. We have Roth coming in a half hour, less than a half hour, because it's 6:45 as far as first pitch tonight, coming around 5:50, 5:55 on the East Coast. Taylor is coming aboard, as well as Derek Carty. Carty working double duty tonight. I'm sure he's got some blitz things to take care of. And of course, the bat's still in effect here in month number 6. So we have our stacks tonight. Squirrel, do you want to introduce our stacks category and have the tell them the origin story? Well, what made you come up with it? And just we'll have the chat play along, and then we'll reveal the board momentarily.
The extensive history and long path we should follow to end up with the Thursday night board here. Or was we in honor of Thursday night football went with Dolphins running backs. And so we'll throw the board up and get to it.
All right. Yeah. So you wanted to power rank Miami running backs. I think we just kind of like had a little, we threw some names back and forth, and we were like, oh, I can't believe I forgot this dude even existed or even played. But yeah, I did put Ricky up top. I think Ricky was fun. He's an interesting guy too. So I know the olds in chat are not going to be happy. Like Larry Zonka did not make the board, or neither did Mercury Morris. And another one of those running backs from the 72 Dolphins. I'm down in South Florida, so I'm aware. Mercury Morris used to have a local radio show many years ago. I used to listen to on 560 or 610. Remember radio? Do you remember that, Squirrel? Yeah. I used to love the sports talk radio back in the day. Ronnie Brown, remember Ronnie Brown? Was he in our DFS lives? He was, right? Or he was around for like 2015 or so. I think so, right? We rostered him at DFS at some point.
Yeah, I think so. And was he on the Chargers at one point? Like, could he go from the Chargers to the Dolphins?
He could have been. 2005. Oh, wait. Well, you know what? I'm way off. He played 2005, 2010 for the Dolphins. So maybe like the end of his career, we got him like the first year on FanDuel or something like that. But, or maybe he just went someplace else, like you said. Philadelphia in 2011. That's right. 2012 through 2014 in San Diego. And I guess he played a couple games for Houston. That's where he kind of wrapped it up. So there you go. Shout out to Ronnie Brown. Good run there for Miami. And next up, we didn't really know. Well, HM, we didn't really know where to put in the board, right? We didn't really know where he would go. Is 3 insulting? He could theoretically jump up to the 1 spot, I guess, if things go well for him. But Mostert's like the steady Eddie, right? He's perfectly fine. And then there's Lamar Miller, famously had a walk-off walk-off touchdown against the Colts in the playoffs. One of the last like 25 years of Dolphin lore, that's like still up there. It's like biggest moments in Dolphins history. It's not a who's who of lists of great moments. And then probably unfairly, we stuck Arian Foster at the end. He played like 4 games for Miami and just called it quits. And he retired at like 29 or so, very, very young. He's 2 years younger than Aaron Rodgers. He's still younger than some players in the league. I think he went on to do some podcasting stuff. Is he still podcasting? I think he's out there doing something. I feel like he's popped up on my Twitter timeline, but there you go. That is our ranking for Dolphins. Yes, Auburn legend Ronnie Brown. I almost put Sammy Smith at the end. He was a first rounder for FSU many, many years ago. That did not quite work out. I did not have a Jay Fiedler jersey back in the day, but yes, aware of Jay Fiedler for sure. No, I was not a big jersey guy. You a big jersey guy?
No, not really. I'll get cards like if a guy like wins me a tournament. That's my thing. I just don't want a bunch of jerseys laying around. Like I'm not gonna be like wearing these jerseys out. So yeah, rather go with something nice, small, compact. Get a card.
Yeah, and like I always like look, I'm not besmirching. Wear the jerseys. You want to wear the jerseys, but once you're older than the players, maybe you shouldn't. I mean, look, again, wear what you want. Have at it. Enjoy yourself. Have a good time. But that's I kind of like that rule. Okay. Let's dive in. Let's rank our stacks. 20 minutes or so until crunch time comes in. Again, 6:45 is first pitch of the first game. Starting out hot. 9 total. Darren is taking on the Nationals. Darren. Darren M is taking on the Nationals, and it's Mitchell Parker on the other side. We talked about liking Washington earlier. CJ Abrams, he got the 2020 for the season. I don't know if that's as remarkable as potentially 50-50. It's not, but he's on his way, and he feels like a spectacular young player here. Cruz batting second, James Wood, plenty of pop there, and there's some cheapies beyond that. I think we both had Joey Gallo today as like our sneaky cheapie. Batting 8th today, had 40% strikeouts, whatever it is these days, but probably a little bit less against Darren. Where do we have the Nationals and the Marlins?
So yeah, I mean, we are starting out hot. I'm putting the Nationals up in Ricky Williams. Like, when am I going to get another opportunity to put the Nationals up as one of the top teams, if not the top team? Lead the league in stolen bases, in addition to being in a good spot, like offensively. They're stealing it. They've got they're calling the prospects up. Like, they're probably getting stronger as an offense as the season goes on. This is not the same lineup that it was earlier in the year. And so, yeah, Nationals up in Ricky Williams with the W. And I'm going to actually put the Marlins up in Ronnie Brown.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah. Burger on a tear. Connor Norby hitting. I don't know that I can name somebody else in the lineup, but I like those too. And that's enough on the slate to get you put in Ronnie Brown.
Otto Lopez is their cleanup hitter. Again, I mentioned Christian Pache, who just cannot hit baseballs really well, is batting cleanup, which is, again, sure. I suppose they're all cheap. I guess you can, that's the argument you can make. That's the counterpoint. Fatmy Greasy where's Reggie Bush? We considered Reggie Bush. He just didn't really make the board. Didn't really know where to put him. Didn't play a lot for the Dolphins, but certainly I guess his best years were New Orleans or USC. Maybe was his best year, but probably should have been considered. Although chat wants to know why Walter Payton is not on the board. Well, do you know how the game is played, sir? He's never played for the Dolphins, to the best of my knowledge. Flipper got screwed, by the way. Where's Flipper? If we're really going to dig into it, Flipper's not happy somewhere. I don't know. I don't know where I was even put him. Well, I was thinking the actual the TV. Yeah, is their mascot? At least in Ace Ventura, didn't they have a? I should know the Dolphins mascot. I don't. Is it? It's probably a dolphin. I would assume so. That would make sense. That would check out. Anyways, the Rays are taking on the Guardians. Yes, Frank Gore also got screwed too. Pepio taking on Gavin Williams. Cleveland is the favorite here, minus 150 against the Rays. Christopher Morel leading off today. It's been kind of scuffling there. I love the power potential of Caminero. If you want to pick on Gavin Williams, he's one of my favorite ways to do it. Aranda is like a nice, cheap potential power source there as well. Really, really cheap first baseman if you need to save some salary, 2.1K. Yeah, Snowflake was the name of the. Was that real? The Snowflake was the character's name in Ace Ventura. The chat's telling me that's correct, but I don't know if that was a real name of a real mascot. We have to do a Google on that. Where do you have the Rays and the Guardians?
So Rays, I'm gonna put them in Lamar Miller. That's actually somewhat controversial because, like, as I was writing the Gavin Williams blurb in the expert survey, I mean, the Rays should be happy the White Sox exist, because if it wasn't for the White Sox, the Rays would be dead last in most offensive categories on the season. But the one exception to that is stolen bases. They can get some steals, and they do maybe have a little bit of power potential. And maybe if Gavin Williams is owned, and that's a lot of maybes. But I will put them in Lamar Miller so that they're not like dead last on the list. I'll put the Guardians. Man, I came so close to not calling them the Guardians. I'll put them right in the middle of Raheem Mostert's. They're fine. I probably don't like Pepio maybe as much as the field. I think he's going to get a little bit of ownership. It's just not a great game for offense, but yeah, I'll put the Guardians right in the middle.
In the survey today, the expert survey today, I put player I'm like, most afraid of not having enough of, J-Ram. I think you're supposed to get some in tournaments, and I'm probably not. I haven't made my lineups just yet. I'll make them after the show, but I don't think he's a top priority, and maybe he should be. By the way, a good thing my friends who are Dolphin fans don't watch the show. They don't really play DFS. They would take some umbrage to me. How did I forget TD was the name of the Dolphins mascot? Like, of course that is the name of the Dolphins mascot, TD. Okay, let's move on. It's Boston and New York. They always have. Well, I shouldn't say always. That's I guess when it happens, you notice it more when Boston and New York have those interesting, fun games. No longer the 4.5 hour affairs where they would bring in a new relief pitcher after every at bat. Thankfully, with those new rules, Cooper Criswell taking on Nestor Cortez. We talked about Cortez. He gives up fly balls. He gives up home runs. He's vulnerable to righties. If 140 at bats was a qualifying number for a number of bats versus lefties, Tyler O'Neill would have the biggest ISO in baseball. Yes, even bigger than Aaron Judge. He's destroyed, just absolutely annihilated, pummeled lefties. So if nothing else, I think he's a really, really interesting one-off. I'm curious, how bonkers would it be? You tell me, as you give me where you're telling me where the Yankees and the Red Sox go. Is it just blasphemous? Is it absurd? It's a 5-gamer. Can I play Cortez and O'Neill in the same lineup? Am I allowed to do that?
I don't know. I really don't like doing that. 3-game slates, I think, is where I would go there. This is a 5-gamer. I just think there's better options. Like, if you're playing Cortez, there's just such a good chance that Tyler O'Neill is not having a huge game. I wouldn't go there. I think that also, like, part of O'Neill's, great season is he's hitting lefties really well. It's like the Yankees. I feel like the Yankees are unlikely to be bringing in a left-hander to face O'Neill.
Yeah.
So I think if O'Neill is doing really well, it's probably off Cortez. So I like the O'Neill play, and I think you can make an argument for Cortez. I don't like playing this, but don't let me talk you out of it. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you got to thread the needle on it, and certainly you want to get something off the bullpen as well. One of my arguments was that basically I don't think any of these pitchers are going to have a clean sheet today. I don't think so. Probably a question in chat from Mr. Grapefruit. Can you play Rocker and Cash? No, do not play Rocker and Cash. Would not advise that. Just because the pitch count issues, he could only play, 4 innings. Certainly I like him for tournaments. Jardog's asking about a Duran homer. I wouldn't count on it. I never count on it. More times than not, the answer is always just no. Is this guy going to homer? Probably not. I mean, you want me to say yes, but probably not. But he's had a spectacular season. Been one of the best hitters in baseball versus righties, but not very good. Not good at all against lefties this year. He's got a 99 ISO, which is bad. Striking out a lot, not even really walking. So, I mean, again, if you're stacking up Boston, for sure, get some Duran, right? But do not like him at all as far as a one-off piece. Yeah, they're saying that Tyler O'Neill funnel cakes lefties. There you go. You can absolutely say that. New York and Boston. I don't see them on the board. Did you officially put them in a category? Did I miss that? Did producer Steve would never miss it, but maybe I missed it. Where do we put these teams?
So let's see. Yankees, I'd put them up in Ronnie Brown, although I think we just got derailed as soon as we started talking about this game. The Yankees,
My fault.
Yankees like top 5 in most offensive categories as a team for the season. Over the last like 14 days, they're down at like 25th somewhere. So they have not been hitting, but that's probably just some noise, right? It's still a good hitting team facing Cooper Criswell. Good hitting ballpark. So I'll put the Yankees up there with the Marlins in Ronnie Brown. Red Sox, not as good versus left-handers. I think, strong argument for playing Tyler O'Neill. Not sure how I feel about the rest of the team. I'll keep him in Worcester.
Yeah, if nothing else, I'm going to have O'Neill as a one-off somewhere, and just kind of a way to differentiate. I know, Washington's going to be popular in this slate. New York's going to be popular in this slate, and maybe doing like a 4-2-2 or 4-2-1-1. Just trying to find ways to be different. And I'm making my lineups for trying to beat 300 people. 100. I'm not playing I'll throw it in the nonsense in the lotto stuff just because. Like, what if I actually hit the nuts? But that's not where I'm actually building that's not the thought process necessarily. By the way, you have 2 extremes as far as umpires today. One extreme hitters umpire in Washington, if you care for such things. Extreme hitters umpire in Washington, and an extreme pitchers umpire for Rocker and Miller. So, yeah, they're asking. I don't play these. So maybe you can. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Chris is asking, would you play Nestor in a strikeouts only slate? I don't. Do you have any any practice with such things? I understand. I guess just you want to get the most strikeouts. I guess you can play him. Sure. Not my first guy.
I don't know how that kind of slate works. But I will say, I think Cortez actually has the second highest strikeout prop on the day after Gavin Williams, I think. So if that's any guide, then I don't think there's a salary cap. I think you're just picking.
There might be a salary cap, and that's why I threw it to you, because I don't have experience playing it. I thought maybe you did, but I don't know. I know we've had this conversation before, maybe not with you. It might have been FanDuel. I think FanDuel might do it, but I really can't speak to it.
I'd probably do like Birdsong, Cortez, and like Gavin Williams. But it looks like you picked 3 guys.
Yeah, and I still say that I think Rocker should be. I think he can have the most strikeouts in the slate in 75 pitches. But he could also be a disaster. But you never really know. Very first start, people are aware of what's going on. Exciting time. Chris is telling us no salary cap, by the way. I wonder is there like a king or is that a captain? I wonder how that stuff works. But feels like an interesting game actually. There's probably some good game theory to it because people just might use like projections and go straight down the line, and it's not the way it's going to work necessarily. Yeah, probably worth looking into. And you got it right. It is 3 pitchers. Okay. Let's move on. There are 2 more games. Crunch time coming in 5-10 minutes or so. Texas, the aforementioned Rocker taking on Bryce Miller. We know Seattle is vulnerable to the strikeout. Just a 7 total here. Good ballpark to pitch in as well. I don't think we have lineups unless they just came out on me, but I don't think so. We got the Mariners. Robles, J-Rod, Big Dumper Raleigh, Rosarena, Raleigh, Turner, Polanco, Crawford, Rojas. So I think that's pretty standard. No Texas lineup just yet. Where are we seeing the stacks here? Probably if you want to be different, a good place to get different, at least ownership wise. But are these teams just going to flame out? How do you feel about Texas and Seattle?
Texas, I'm going to put them down in Arian Foster, former Houston Texan. So, yeah, Rangers go in Arian Foster. I think they're just about at the bottom of the slate. It's a really good pitching ballpark. Against a decent pitcher, and the team probably really just not hitting as well as like we would have thought. And then Mariners, let's see how many teams we have left.
One more game after this. Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna put the Mariners up in Ronnie Brown. I think and that's a little bit high, but I think that there's some potential that Rocker maybe just doesn't have it, and they're getting to the bullpen a little bit early. And the team thought like the Mariners are actually starting to hit a little bit better at home than they have for most of the season. So yeah, I'll put the Mariners up in Ronnie Brown. A lot of that is Cal Riley driven, but yeah, good power potential.
By the way, didn't like kind of go through the numbers for Rocker, just kind of said like he was spectacular. On 3 different teams working his way through the minors in 2024, 36 innings, 55 strikeouts, 5 walks, no homers. Like the control's been awesome. The strikeouts have been ridiculous. I know he's like 24 and older than most of these guys he's facing, but just been outrageous. We don't talk a lot of whip. If you're in like season long leagues, maybe 0.79 whip, just not getting touched up at all. Certainly, not facing major league caliber stuff, but he has been as good as he was advertised several years ago. We should just throw out the last couple of clues here. Once we had a winner for Fleet Thursday, I just kind of abandoned it. My bad. The people like to play along. Let's finish it out. We'll get the last 2 back to back. Not retired, chlorine, creepy. Clue number 4 is dot the I. Dot the I is clue number 4. And clue number 5 is recipient. Recipient. So there you go. Feel free to play along. If you've not answered the question just yet, or you haven't seen the real answer, you might be able to get there now just for funsies. Last game, the hammer tonight. That is Milwaukee and San Fran. It does feel like more of a chisel than a hammer. Well, what we got in Shawshank, basically. That's what we're looking at, I think, as far as this game. Maybe not. We'll see. We saw a bunch of runs scored last night by San Fran. Birdsong taking on Montas, 7.5 total. Milwaukee is a slight favorite. No lineups just yet. Where do we have the Brewers and the Giants?
Probably put the Brewers in Mostert. They do, yeah. I mean, they're just kind of edging out the Marlins for the highest implied run total of any road team on the slate. And I do love those guaranteed 9th inning at bats. They're facing Birdsong. Walks are an issue. It's good pitching ballpark, but runs can be scored as we saw. I think last night. I think the Giants started to go a little bit berserk. And then let's see, Giants. I'll actually put down in Lamar Miller. It's like Frankie Montas. It's hard to capture like how much better like pitchers pitch in pitching ballparks. Like we've got like Frankie Montas' stats for years, like from pitching in Cincinnati. He was like pitching in Giants in San Francisco his whole was it Oracle? San Francisco his whole career and looked like a much better pitcher. So a little bit of a Frankie Montas believer tonight, and I'll put the Giants down in Lamar Miller.
Ross Weather Edge Tool, big time sample, 472 games. 63 is the temp. Wind is blowing out slightly to left field, but we've talked about it in the past. Ross talked about it. Has ballpark, doesn't really, wind doesn't really matter a ton. Taking a hit home run wise, the few home runs that are hit in San Fran, expect even less today. Minus 6.9% historically. A slight bump in runs for what it's worth. 0.5% increase runs. No effect as far as ERA. And to that point on Weather Edge, really nothing of note. Slight bump for New York history-wise, but it's, minimal, basically. Not much going on. Same deal with Cleveland. It's essentially the margin of error. Slight bump in runs in 222 games, but yeah, weather not really popping. It's in the 70s there in Washington. Pretty neutral as it is historically, but it is a good park. Probably the best park. Well, I guess Boston. No, they're in New York. Those are two of the better parks on the slate. The final board is, by the way, think of a couple. If you got some squirrel bombs for the people, well, we make sure to knock those out before. Where was San Fran again? Producer Steve is asking. Lamar Miller. Okay, so yeah, the final is our board. We have the Nats, your Washington Nationals, all by themselves, hanging out with Ricky Williams, having a good time. Ronnie Brown has the Marlins, the Yankees, Seattle, Raheem Mostert, Cleveland, Boston, Milwaukee, Lamar Miller, Tampa, San Fran, and Arian Foster is hanging out with the Texas Rangers. Yes, chat is confirming the answer to today's Fleet Thursday. And again, you're in the show. You're Washington based to some degree or close enough. I went with a commander I almost did that too. I was like, what? That's not that team. I almost a football team too, which I think is that what they're calling the Utah hockey team? Are they called the Utah hockey team? I think that's what they're called. Did you know there was a Utah hockey team? That's a better question. The former Arizona hockey team is now called Utah Hockey Team or Utah Hockey Club or something like that. Yeah. I don't know if they have like a nickname on layaway, and that's just kind of a holding space. There it is, Utah Hockey Club. Yeah, get excited. I know they sold out of like season tickets. They're excited up there for their hockey. Arizona was not very good last several years. They were playing in Arizona State, like on their campus, like a 5,000 person. I don't know why I'm derailing the show talking about hockey, but there you go. I'm excited about the upcoming hockey season. Anyways, crunch time should be coming in shortly. Give the people a couple of homers. Who's going yak? Who's going yard tonight?
So one guy we both mentioned, Joey Gallo. Like him to hit a home run. And I will go with Connor Norby again. Hit a home run. And then if I have to add a third, I'm gonna add Cal Riley.
Michael Knack in the chat says Romy Gonzalez is going to hit a homer. This is why I like being the host sometimes. I don't have to answer this question. Derek wants to know, and trying to throw up DK tournaments, Pache, Stowers, or Hensley. Who do you like amongst those three?
Let's see. If you're testing my knowledge of Florida Marlins or Miami Marlins, sorry.
Yeah.
Hensley, Pache, I'd go with Pache. See, he's hitting cleanup or fifth.
I believe he's hitting cleanup, but don't let that mislead you. He does not hit homers. He's got speed though. He's got speed, and he's a good defensive player, so he probably sticks around for defense. And the Miami Marlins paid a lot of money to have him be called the Miami Marlins. That was part of the deal of getting the new stadium. They had to be called the Miami Marlins, as opposed to the old school Florida Marlins. So let's go ahead. Oh, is Otto cleaning up? Am I wrong? I thought it was Pache. It is Otto cleaning up. Yeah, my bad. Does that change things? Probably not. Otto was not an option, I don't think. Otto's already in that stack, I imagine. Doesn't feel great. So how did we come to the conclusion here that Terry McLaurin is our Fleet Thursday? So not retired, of course. We know he's still playing football. Clue number 2 was chlorine. And I'm not going to be the guy. I'm not the guy that knows this. I didn't memorize this chart when I was in high school, but the atomic number for chlorine is 17. Did you memorize that chart in high school? I did not. I was not good. I could not figure that out. It was so unnecessary. What a wasteful thing to do. Like, what's the advantage of memorizing this thing?
I was looking. I thought like CL. Like I was looking up the empirical formula or whatever. Like,
you were there though. That's the right. You had the right thought. But 17 is the atomic number for chlorine. Creepy, of course, Scary Terry. Dot the I, famously, he went to Ohio State. Ohio State, the band, the best damn band in the land for Ohio State. By the way, if you ever want to go you have like an hour to kill on YouTube, like look up Ohio State's like halftime shows where they do like movies and like Superman and like Michael Jackson tributes. Have you ever seen this before? It's amazing. It's spectacular. Like I promise you're going to be like enthralled, like watching, like they play the songs, they play the music, and they act it out on the field. It's like they're playing Quidditch, like they're literally moving. I don't want to spoil it, but it's worth checking out. And the last goal was recipient. Well, he's a wide receiver, so there you go. That is how we got to Terry McLaurin. Jardog wants to know who's going to homer, Norby or Lau. Who's going to homer out of those two?
I already gave Norby as my home run call, so I'm sticking with it.
Mr. Richard in a DK single entry GPP. The stack to take is
Washington.
Chalky Washington, right? Like I think they're the most popular stack. I think, yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. But like, when else are you going to get the Nationals as a chalky stack?
I mean, you got to do it. I'm doing it. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it. All right. Crunch time is coming in. We got Taylor as well as Derek Carty, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. 45 minutes until first pitch. Plenty of time. Again, reminder, you're going to be back later. As we seamlessly segue, you're going to be talking some football. The Showdown slate, the Dolphins taking on the Bills. But without further ado, it is crunch time. What is up, Taylor, Carty, Roth? Hey, this is random, Kevin. Did you know that Cleveland my electricity? Are you aware of this?
Amazing. Did you know that if you're in Detroit and you look south, you see Canada?
What?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's mind blowing for sure. I did stay just south of Detroit, and I'm trying to think of the name of the city. It's right there across the border.
Windsor?
Because, yes, there it is. Look at you. You're all over it. Have you been, or you just memorized the map?
No, I looked at it because I saw that fun fact and it blew my freaking mind. And so I had to verify it before I send it out to the masses. Yeah, Windsor. There you have it.
I can confirm. Windsor indeed. Anything else going on in Kevin's world that's of note? Oh, did you finish the movie? And did you
I did. Gotta thank you. Yeah. Emily the Criminal. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. I enjoyed it. It was just the right movie for the right mood that I was in. It was perfect. So thank you, Dean.
You're welcome. Hey, 1 for 1. We can retire now. Carty, working hard tonight with the bat and the blitz. How are things?
Oh yeah. Yep, got double duty tonight, but that's cool. I love this month.
You might be getting some football questions. I don't know. We'll see. I assume you're prepared to answer football questions.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, because you guys got 45 minutes or so. It's a 5-gamer. Myself and Squirrel, we kind of paced ourselves for that 5-gamer. Took our time. All right, we should step aside though and let the people get crunch time. Squirrel, myself, and yourself, we thank the people for watching, tuning in, hit that like button, subscribing, turn on notifications, and not going anywhere because you got 40 plus minutes for crunch time. It's Kevin Roth. It's Taylor. It is Carty. It's crunch time. Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. Two of the sharpest minds in the industry. Going to take you up to lock. We might take you through lock. I might even remember their names today. I'm going to do my best after a pretty rough show yesterday. We got Derek Carty in the house, creator of the Bat, creator of the Blitz. How are you, Carty?
Doing pretty well. Still have a couple weeks left of baseball. Week 1 of football was great. Looking forward to a good slate tonight. So I'm doing great.
Very good. I still might slide in your DMs and see if I can see if I get a friend deal on the Blitz. Because when I tell you, Carty, I got my ass handed to me in in football, crushed.
Well, you should have used the Blitz.
Obviously, maybe things will change.
Actually, DM me. You will get it for free. Okay.
Let's go. Oh, my guy. We got Taylor in the house as well. Taylor, how are you, good sir? And what can you offer me?
Not much, generally speaking, but I'm kind of still trying to figure out how to play this slate. I kind of regret entering it, to be honest, but I'm dug in. No going back now, so we can all figure it out together.
Yeah, once you enter, you got to figure it out, and that's where we all stand here. There is yet again no weather concerns. If you saw my weather write-up, I just dropped random facts about every city because the weather is not an interesting fact today. There's just nothing all that exciting around. So with that out of the way, let's dive into the slate. Carty, you are a bit of a cash connoisseur, although I guess Taylor does a bit of both here. Why don't you start us off with how this pitching slate looks?
Looks pretty bad if we're being honest here.
Great.
It's a 5-game slate. We don't have any pitchers that you truly are like, yes, I want to play this guy. This guy's in a great spot. He's super talented. That guy doesn't exist today.
Right.
I'd say there's a handful at the top, maybe 4 or 5, that are all kind of, they're decent. They're borderline good. They're fine. You have Bryce Miller against Texas. You have Nestor Cortez against Boston. You have Frankie Montas in San Francisco, and you have Gavin Williams, the cheapest of the 4, against the Rays. From a price considered standpoint, I think Gavin Williams and Cortez are the best, but Miller and Montas are fine. Miller's probably going to be the highest owned, so I don't see a whole lot of need to pay that tax for him when he really doesn't project much better than anybody else, and he's more expensive than everybody else. Mm-hmm. So that's just for me in tournaments. I'd be heavier on the other 3. Then we have Kumar Rocker making his debut tonight. Top prospect for the Rangers. facing the Mariners, so it's a good matchup in Seattle. So good park, good weather. I think the big question mark with him more than anything else is, well, I mean, obviously you never know a rookie's talent, but we can assume he's probably pretty good. We don't know how deep into the game he's going to go. Dealt with some injuries, has only made maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 minor league starts. They've been anywhere from like 40 to 70 pitches. We don't know. Were they building him up and now they're going to let him go 90, or is he going to come out after 60 pitches or 70 pitches today? I don't know. You can take shots in tournaments for sure on a slate like this. Wouldn't be a cash guy for me, especially at his price. And then if you want cheap nonsense, Birdsong and Mitchell Parker are both fine.
Okay. Taylor, I'm a little distraught because I just figured we were going to get to play this rocker dude, but he's kind of expensive and he probably doesn't have a long leash. That's problematic.
Yeah, but on a 5-game slate with not much else to like.
Yeah.
I think, and he's playing Seattle in a good park, high strikeout lineup on the other side.
You're in. You're telling me you're in.
Kind of in, kind of out. Like, I don't think you're playing him like Carty said. You're not playing him in cash. I don't think you really need to take the risk in single entry. But if you're 20 maxing, 150 maxing, 3 maxing, I think you can keep him in your pool just because of the lack of options. Generally speaking, like Cortez is the one I'm getting the most of, even though I don't feel great about that, but it is a pretty good matchup in terms of strikeout upside. His pitch count's been kind of weird lately. I don't know what they're doing necessarily with him, but he's cheap enough to where I'm still just getting there, and the slate is bad enough to where I'm still getting there. I do have quite a bit of Birdsong as well, just for the savings. He's super cheap on DK. Pretty decent strikeout pitcher. There is walk concern with him. I think he has a 15% walk rate, which is not optimal, but cheap 5-game slate, decent park, or great park. I think it's probably the coldest game on the slate as well in San Francisco. So fine with that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's flip it. And I assume if pitcher's not very good, hopefully there's at least some stacks that we like. Taylor, you want to lead us off there?
The answer to that is no, but there is stuff that's okay. I think Washington is going to be decently popular against this McCaw-Ken guy pitching for Miami. That's the first game of the night. It's not the greatest lineup, but they do have some power, especially from the left side. Abrams, Wood, Gallo, Garcia lower in the order. Jose Tena has been decent enough. Chalky Washington is not generally something I'm excited to do, but I get why they're popular tonight. The Yankees against Cooper Criswell look fine. They've been cold for weeks now, it seems, but again, small slate, not any other elite offenses really on paper. So the Yankees look like one of the better stacks on the board. Texas, without Seager, they're not good. They weren't good even with them, to be honest, but they're facing what may be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate in Bryce Miller in a decent, not a good hitter's park, but they're cheap. You're getting leverage on a small slate. So I think they're kind of okay. And the other kind of leverage team would probably be Tampa Bay on DK. I think Gavin Williams is going to be a pretty popular SP2. Not excited to play them either, but park upgrade for them. They do have a little bit of power in the lineup, so I think it's okay.
Okay. Steve pointing out we only have 50 likes, by the way, which seems criminal, being that this is free content with some of the sharpest minds in the industry, and that I put in extra effort to give you guys a fun baseball weather forecast when there was no baseball weather. So hit the little like, hit the subscribe for us. We would greatly appreciate it. Carty, walk me through your favorite stacks.
It's kind of like he said, stacks today aren't great. I think the Yankees and the Nationals are the top tier. They're both going to pick up ownership. You can play them for sure. But if you're doing anything different, it's the kind of slate where like everything else projects within a pretty tight range. Like you can do any of it. So Boston stacks against Cortez, Tampa Bay stacks against Gavin Williams. For the savings, I think San Francisco stacks against Montas, and you'll get some leverage there too. Even Miami today is cheap enough and not completely terrible that you can play them. Like it literally is a play whoever you want slate.
You have a favorite? Like, sure, play whoever you want, but do you have a favorite personally?
Give me
That's a no. If you got to think this hard, the answer
I'm
is
just
no.
not like I'm picking one of the teams against the chalky pitchers. I'm just like, which one do I like the best?
Yeah.
The problem with Texas is they're kind of expensive, but you get the most leverage with them. Give me Texas. Give me Texas.
Okay. Bootleg Head Chopper says, hey, if we can get up to 100 likes, Roth gets a day off tomorrow. All right. You may have to clear that with TJ or someone, but yeah, there you go. Ref Schneider, according to Power, has been scratched. Ref Schneider. I don't know if we care about that, but that is what I'm seeing here in the old chat. Guys, let's go position by position, and we'll go around the horn starting at catcher. Carty, what do we like?
You're going to start with me?
Yeah, I mean, that's
catcher.
Yeah, fun, right?
Oh man, catcher's real bad tonight.
No, we got the big dumper. We got Contreras.
We do have the big dumper, but he's against Rocker. It's not the best spot for the big dump. I'd probably rather Austin Wells or Keibert Ruiz in that price range. They'll be a little higher owned, but I think for cash, you're playing one of them. You can spend up on William Contreras against Birdsong. I think 5K is kind of a lot for him in a matchup that's not awesome. If you need to save a little bit more, you have Danny Jansen for 3-1, who I think is probably your best cheap guy, but catcher is disgusting.
Taylor, get a load of this guy. He said he'd rather have two dudes in the same price range as Cal Raleigh over Cal Raleigh. How insane is he?
Sure, what on the show, what qualifies Carty even be here? Like, what's he ever done?
What are you even doing,
I think
man?
my connection probably died.
It did. It's kind of still there, but you're still sort of with us. What are you doing a catcher? You're playing the big dumper, right? Right?
I do have some dumper. Highest on catcher for me is Austin Wells, just against Criswell. I think the Yankees are probably just my
in the same price range as Cal Raleigh. I should note in the same.
He
same
is
price.
actually the exact same salary as Cal Raleigh.
You fools! You absolute fools!
I like the Jansen call for savings. Keibert Ruiz should also be somewhat popular in that Washington stack. Jonah Heim being the other cheapie for leverage against Bryce Miller, I think is fine, even though he's been a corpse all season. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up. Catcher is pretty grim beyond the dump.
Okay, Taylor, before we go to first base, Jerry in the chat very kindly said, my apologies. I missed FanDuel Cash Pitcher. And your apologies are not necessary because it was my fault as I did not ask the question. Taylor, on FanDuel, is there any big pricing differences pitcher-wise that you think you need to point out, or a guy that you think is the right play over there?
Let me take a gander. Bryce Miller is the standout. He's kind of expensive. You're getting a good discount with Nestor Cortez. But the cash pitcher is probably Frankie Montas for 8-1. He's just way cheaper than everyone else. Projects essentially the same. Good park, like we've talked about. You can save further with Gavin Williams. Really no difference. One of those two would be my lean. I think you're fine either way. You don't have to pay all the way up.
Okay, very good. That means we get to go to first base. Taylor, what have you got?
First base, not much better than catcher, to be honest. We have Jake Berger against Mitchell Parker. Platoon advantage, good hitter, good park. Okay with that. Joey Gallo, if you want to go even cheaper in the same game. Buried in the order, but he's Joey Gallo. He can always hit 3 home runs, potentially. A super cheapie, I think, is playable is Jonathan Arando, only 2-1 on DK for the Rays. If you're spending up, it is, I guess, Josh Naylor. Maybe Brandon Lau. Don't have a lot of conviction there. There's not a lot to spend on, so I think you're likely saving unless you're paying up for Berger.
Okay. Carty, your thoughts at first base?
Yeah, I mean, there really isn't a high end today. Like good old Jacques is the high end, so I like him a lot. And on FanDuel, he's not even expensive. You're definitely just playing him there. Joey Gallo, as gross as it is definitely one of the best point per dollar plays. Certainly in there for GPPs for homer upside. Chaparro in the same lineup, only a little bit more expensive. Not the same power as Gallo, but he's definitely in play too. After that, it's just play a first baseman in your stack, I guess. Treat it like catcher. Like it's a bad position tonight.
Okay. Does it get better as we go along? Let's go to second base.
No.
Is there anything there, Carty?
I mean, a little bit more. Luis Garcia is the top guy. It's a good spot for him. Always homer potential, stolen base potential. Washington is actually one of the potentially the highest scoring lineups tonight. So I like Garcia a lot. On FanDuel, where he has like a billion eligibilities, Jazz Chisholm is good, and Gleyber Torres for a little bit cheaper in the same lineup is good. Over on DK, Glaber's the guy that if you're saving money, he's probably the guy you're doing it with. You can go down a little bit more to Otto Lopez, or you can go up a little bit to like a Jimenez or a Morel. Second base is not as bad as first base, but it's not great.
Okay. Taylor, second base.
Yeah, I think Morel is my favorite when you consider the salary and the ownership compared to the others. Like Torres will be popular, Garcia will be popular, Otto Lopez might be a little popular. So you're not really getting anyone on Morel. Kind of the same argument with Marcus Semien, just one of the better second basemen by default in a matchup in which no one's going to play him. So I think in a tournament, even as a one-off, Semien is perfectly fine. If you're not playing Morel, you can play Brandon Lau here as well on the same stack, but I do prefer Morel, especially because you can play Lau at first base on DK. But there are ways to get different, so it doesn't look quite as grim as first base.
Okay. How about third base? We're improving. Third base is good. You're going to say it's awesome. You love like 5 dudes there. Taylor?
There are a few, actually. Jose Ramirez is probably the top overall guy right there. Rafael Devers, no one's going to play him lefty-lefty, but short slate against a popular pitcher, I think he's okay. We have Berger here, of course, on DK. Jazz Chisholm for the Yankees, super expensive, but might be lower owned than some of the other Yankees. If you want to go cheaper, Jose Tena, I mentioned him already. He's going to be, I think, the chalky salary saver for the Nationals. Junior Caminero, another Ray, worth a shout. And Matt Chapman, I'm not super high on San Francisco in general, but you are getting leverage against Montas, and he's good. So no one's going to play him either. Nice.
Okay. Carty, your thoughts at third?
He named pretty much everyone I would have in all kind of the same spots. Like Ten is clearly the cheap guy. I like Chapman a lot, honestly, like this. Like the bat extras always thinks he's better than people think he is. And the matchup's not great tonight, but San Francisco in general is kind of cheap. I kind of like San Francisco as a stack. So you can one-off Chapman, you can play him in your stack. But yeah, that's third base.
Sure. Okay. How about shortstop, Carty?
CJ Abrams is the clear top guy today at shortstop. Washington is one of the better teams. CJ Abrams is one of their better players. He's leading off. The spot is great. He's expensive, but this is one position where, especially because every position we've talked about so far really doesn't have a guy that you want to spend up for. Spending up for CJ Abrams makes sense today. I think the field will be doing that to a large extent in GPPs. Like he's not going to be sneaky at all. But in cash, like it makes sense to spend up for Abrams. To get different from him in tournaments, you're looking at like a Willy Adames one-off or Otto Lopez again, hitting cleanup for Miami, or on FanDuel, Tena qualifies here if you're not playing him at third. We have Caballero here too. But yeah, it does fall off after that. We have a good high end, we have a couple of good one-offs, and then a whole bunch of crap.
Okay, Taylor.
Yeah, this is probably the worst shortstop slate we've had all season. Once you go past Abrams, it's really bad. I think Adames is kind of the default number 2 option. I guess Anthony Volpe, you can say, is okay, especially in a stack. The ghost of Trevor Story you can play here and just hope he comes back to life, turns it back to 2016 or so, but not much to love. I will shout out Josh Smith too if you want to attack Bryce Miller with a lefty. He's a lefty facing Bryce Miller.
Okay, take me to the outfield, Taylor. What do we got?
There is stuff here, I'm happy to say. We have the Yankees, so we have Judge, we have Soto, we have Jason Dominguez for he's cheaper and in the lineup. Josh Lowe for the Rays is a guy I'm getting to a lot. He's expensive, but I do like the Rays as a stack against Williams. Giancarlo Stanton, another Yankee, didn't mention. Can't play them all together on DK, but tis what it is. the Mariners look okay here, I think, against Kumar Rocker. No one's really going to play him in this park, but Arozarena and Julio Rodriguez are both pretty affordable on DK. Don't mind the Red Sox, Jarren Duran, even lefty-lefty. If you want to pay all the way up, it's going to be super contrarian. And then Rafaela. You can play him at shortstop as well, which on this slate may not be the worst idea. And, James Wood in your national stack, but it's not super exciting, honestly, once you get past the Yankees.
Okay. Carty? Yankees and
I mean, I guess Nationals. Like I think James Wood is not quite as good as the Yankee outfielders, but he's kind of the next best thing that we have. After that, there's no point of spending up really, unless it's Tyler O'Neill as a one-off or in your Boston stacks to get leverage against Cortez or something like that. But you're going to need to save a little bit of money, I think. I like the Milwaukee guys a little bit. Garrett Mitchell's 3K. Churio for 4.4 is fine. Kyle Stowers has power potential in the Miami lineup, and he's cheap. Assuming he's leading off, I like Yaz either as a one-off or as part of that giant stack I mentioned. Otherwise, kind of the same deal as Taylor.
Okay. Guys, the people will want some home run calls, and someone asked, let me see if I can find it. Are there any deals? Let's see here. Any promos left for RG Premium? A question from Lone Wolf DFS. So I immediately pulled up RotoGrinders.com to see, and all I see all over RotoGrinders is the bat and the blitz. You have all the promo space, Carty. Have you realized this?
I didn't, but I like to hear it.
No matter what, I don't know who.
So what you're saying is that anyone who hasn't already bought it,
yes,
being that it's everywhere and that you hear such good things from everyone,
this is true.
It's probably crazy, right? Like probably doesn't want to win. That's what I'm thinking.
That is probably true, but also I don't know what your negotiation tactic was to it's everywhere. I can't even find if we have any deals for RotoGrinders because the blitz is just taking up 99% of the ad space on our stuff. Good job, Carty. By the way, we do have deals going on for RotoGrinders, by the way, to not to belabor the point, but let's dive into it. Right now, NFL Premium is available. You can get $100 off. Non-premium users can get $100 off their NFL Premium subscription. And all you have to do is click the banner on RotoGrinders. A 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price $469.99. That saves you $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. 1 month of RG combo premium, $120. 3-day pass is $19.99. Those are some pretty fantastic deals. And we always say, there's never a better time. No, if football's starting, there's never a better time. Sign up for RG Premium. Now is the time. Let's do some home run calls. Taylor, you get to lead us off.
Lovely. I will go with Juan Soto as a very obvious one. A little further down, let's say Gary Sanchez, and let's go with Brandon Lau.
Okay. Carty, you got a few names for me?
Judge is going to be the top guy because he almost always is.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tyler O'Neill as kind of a little bit more of an off-the-board one. You get some leverage. And then a little further down the board, Matt Chapman, I like a lot for a home run.
Very good. Jar Dog also says Tyler O'Neill with the bomb. And Michael says, I've got O'Neill as well. So you are not alone, Carty. You've got some other folks rowing in that boat as well. Hey, how about the best betting odds for a home run? Can we look?
I cannot in good conscience recommend anything tonight.
Oh man, is there something ridiculous or is it just bad odds on a?
It's just all bad odds. There's a couple that have very marginal value. But I don't really feel comfortable telling people to bet it.
I love that. That is the right thing, man. Okay. We've got 20 minutes until lock. However, if the questions dry up, we are going to bounce out early because we've got another show coming on. I want to say it's 7:40 Eastern. We've got a NFL pregame show going on. And our producers actually, they need to eat. They need to, see their families and do other things. So we might wrap things up a little bit early here. Let's see what we've got question-wise to start. Here we go. First base, cash. Taylor, I'm coming to you. Bowers, Chaparro, or other?
Gallo, if you're in that range, I think is probably your best bet.
Okay. Your favorite FanDuel single entry stack. I'll let you both answer this. Taylor, you can go first.
It's probably still the Yankees. If you want to go off the board a bit, let's say the Giants.
Okay. Cardi, you got one?
I mean, Yankees and Nats are clearly the best. Give me Texas. No, single entry now, not Texas. Give me Tampa Bay.
Okay. Cardi, back to you. By the way, let's see. Okay. Jay Frey says Manzardo or Gallo in DK Cash. I guess we're playing Gallo, Cardi. Yeah. Is that what we're doing?
It's real gross. Like nobody wants to do it, but yeah, that is the move.
Yuck. Okay. How about Yastrzemski, Cardi, or Dominguez?
I like both, but I'll take Dominguez first.
Okay. Your favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher, Taylor? We already went over this. Well, no, I guess we didn't. We talked cash. Your favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher, Taylor?
It's kind of tough because Montas and Williams are in the same range, and they're not going to be contrarian at all. I suppose Birdsong would be the one. He doesn't project much more poorly than Gavin Williams and Good Park, so probably Birdsong.
Oof. Okay. Right back to you, Taylor. Lowest owned high dollar bat. Lowest owned high dollar bat to play in FanDuel single entry. Okay.
Might be Tyler O'Neill. I'm not sure how expensive he is.
3.5. I mean, it's expensive enough on FanDuel.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill shouldn't be too popular.
Okay. I don't know if this is a fact, but this is pretty amazing if it is. Steve pointing out Judge has not hit a home run since he was in the home run derby on the children's show Paw Patrol 17 days ago. Can we confirm that it's been 17 days since he hit a home run?
That sounds about right. I heard this earlier in the week, and I was like, okay, got to plug that into the bat.
Yeah, the Paw Patrol curse, man. Oh, yeah. That's tough. He might not hit another one all year. I didn't realize he was on the Paw Patrol. That changes the game a little bit.
It really does. The bat seems to think he's terrible now.
Yeah, you gotta fade him. Gotta fade him now. What do we got? These are not questions. These are just talking. We may close things out here. By the way, I'm going to open it up briefly. If you have any NFL questions, we'll stick around. Oh, look, there he is. Look. I mean, I could see that cursing you, honestly. I could see watching that and being like, yeah, I'm never going to hit home run again after that. I could see it happening. Let's see if we've got any QQs coming in. Here we go. FanDuel Cash, Cardi. Nordy and G. Williams or Torres and Montas. FanDuel Cash.
I mean, either one is fine. I'd probably go the Gavin Williams route.
Okay, Cardi, I assume you've been somewhat following the NFL Showdown slate tonight? Maybe?
I'm familiar with the teams and who's playing and all that kind of stuff. I think there's a question about captains you're about to ask me that I don't know the answer to. I'm not actually playing the Showdown slate.
That's fine. Taylor, have you been tuned into NFL at all, or are you still locked into your baseball?
Yeah, I'll be playing. Fire away.
Okay. 3 max NFL Showdown. Who are your 3 captains, assuming you go 3 different ways?
So it's going to be obviously chalky, but it's hard to get away from Hill and Allen in the captain spots. They just project significantly better than everyone else. I think I could see the backup run. What is his name? Jeff Wilson. I could see him being kind of too popular as a cheap captain, so I don't think he would be next on the list. I don't mind Keon Coleman as a salary saver. I think he's kind of interesting as a third captain that shouldn't be too chalky.
Okay, good stuff. TJ Moosemanzada says, Roth, who is Yastrzemski? Did I say Yastrzemski? Because I apologize. I meant Yazir Madusky, obviously. That's my bad. I hate when I accidentally mispronounce names. Let's see. Cardi, how have the rule changes in MLB affected the statistics in comparison to previous seasons? I don't know if you've had time to dig into this, but steals are up, right? That's one.
Yeah, I mean, that was from last year, though. They're still up. This year, there weren't really a whole lot of rule changes. I'm trying to think. There was one, and It was like a small one. I'm trying to even think what it was.
Didn't they like change the clock a little bit on?
They changed the clock a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah. I haven't actually looked at the effect. I would imagine it's fairly minimal.
Okay. Hey guys, with that, we have answered all the questions. I saw a comment from Steve earlier in the show. He says, I haven't seen my family since the NFL started. I need a break. He's only slightly exaggerating. That's how it is around here once NFL starts. So we are going to bounce on out of here for Taylor and for Carty, for Steve, and for the rest of our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you later on tonight, 7:40 Eastern, for some NFL content. You have been crushed.